All right. Hello, everybody. Logan Media. We're going to go ahead and look at this interesting event that happened yesterday, where a Toronto police officer tried to serve somebody who is acting in a common law jurisdiction. Let's look at the tape. I transcribed this as best I could. A lot of the audio is really messed up because of the loudspeaker. Unfortunate, but
Definitely listen to you. Okay, perfect. You know, there's so many miniguns now, right? The global and hopefully you're going to win this battle.
Okay, so this officer is going to read you your conscious freedoms. All right. We're going to break this down. Okay, this is I drew this picture. This is exactly what's happening. Look at this. Think about what you think you're looking at. Is this a cop giving a rightful declaration of his conscious charter rights of freedoms, or is he doing something else that he is not even aware of? Let's check this out. This is what is happening in this scenario. Remember, we're gonna just watch this again really quick. This cop is letting this guy know that if he organizes protests, he can be subject to a fine. That is the context of the situation. Because this happened yesterday, December 13th. Correction, this happened December 12th on Saturday. Dundas Square, you can definitely see that's Dundas Square. And they are protesting the lockdowns and everything like that.
Okay, the Charter of Rights and Freedom states everyone has the freedom of peaceful assembly. However, the Ontario government has forced a lockdown in Toronto due to the COVID-19 pandemic effective Monday, November 23rd at 12:01 a.m. for a minimum of 28 days. You may be charged with violating the Reopening Act as for attending, organizing, or hosting a large gathering of over 10 people.
I don't understand it. I comprehend what you're saying, but I don't agree to it. Don't stand under it now.
How did this guy just tell this cop he doesn't agree? Like, this cop just read him his rights, right? Watch what this guy says. Dermot.
I don't understand it. I comprehend what you're saying, but I don't agree to it. Don't stand under it now.
I don't stand under it. I don't stand under what you just said. So we're going to go back here one more time and look at what's happening. This is what's actually happening. Now that you have this situation in your mind, this is what's happening. There's something called an unlawful conversion when you're born. The government takes your estate, which is your certificate of live birth. The government takes your state, which is your certificate of live birth, without full disclosure. They steal it from you, okay? And then they create an unlawful conversion. They create this version of you, which is the service corporation name. They take your name, so on the certificate of live birth here, your name is uppercase, lowercase. But then on your Canada, Ontario birth certificate, your first piece of ID, there is a switch. Your name is now, look, they even have it backwards, John Q. Public, in all caps. All caps is ledger base, which is on a gravestone, which indicates dead people. Because this unlawful conversion from a flesh and blood man's live birth certificate, or certificate of live birth, right? This isn't even ownership of his body. This is just the first piece of evidence that says he's alive, right? He doesn't even need this to prove he's a flesh and blood man. He doesn't. But because it's a piece of evidence, right? The government took this with your mom's signature, unlawfully converted it into a service corporation agent so they can use your estate. And now in this unlawful conversion, they take you away from the law of the land, which I didn't draw here, but I have it represented in black. That's a law of the land or land jurisdiction. And they bring you into the maritime jurisdiction of corporations. All right. So now that's the situation for this guy. Now this cop, Officer Hong, right here, we just talked about, this guy said, no, I don't understand it. I know what you're saying, but I don't agree. I do not stand under that, or you, or whatever he said specifically. He doesn't stand under this. your Charter of Rights and Freedoms. How could you not do that? That's because those Charter of Rights and Freedoms are only applicable to this entity, the service corporation identity. They do not apply. That's a maritime jurisdiction. That's a legal jurisdiction, not lawful, which is the law of the land. So this poor cop who had the exact same thing happen to him at birth, this is his estate. He owns his body, right? He's a cop. He's a flesh and blood man. You can see him. He's right here. You could poke him, talk to him. That's what they're doing. You don't need evidence. He's just right there. So he owns his estate, or so he thinks. But his estate was stolen as well. But now the only difference is he is still considered lost or dead at sea and is unaware of his flesh and blood jurisdiction, which is this copy of him, the flesh and blood man, right? He's unaware of that flesh and blood jurisdiction and his capacity as a corporation service agent. So he is acting because he doesn't know who he is. They steal your name. You don't know who you are, right? He is acting as a service corporation agent to come after this identity, right? But what this guy does is say, you know what? My defense is the fact that you don't actually have my title to my property because I reclaimed it with the awareness of the unlawful conversion. I'm going to read my text here. This man has reclaimed his title and awareness of this flesh and blood man. If he owns his certificate of live birth, he owns the title to his body, estate, and not the service corporation. He has total authority over his estate, and a service agent doesn't trump that authority. Legal is inferior to lawful. Legal is maritime, corporation, jurisdiction. Lawful is land. So now this cop, the service corporation, right? They're supposed to protect the people and everything, which is great. So he has a gun, but this man does not have a gun. So but because his lawful, he doesn't need one because his lawful jurisdiction, if they are all acting in honor, when he serves this cop a notice of liability, which he does in this video, which is connected to his estate and we're in the lawful jurisdiction down here, which is law of the land versus the inferior maritime. He serves him with a notice of liability that, hey, if you come and try and trespass on me, you got to claim that you own my title and own me because I own me, right? And now, of course, if this officer who is acting as a service corporation agent, sorry, not this one, he probably doesn't even know. Probably doesn't know. If he knew, he probably wouldn't be doing this if he had honor. Yeah, that sounds bad. But once you become aware of what's happening and you can acknowledge it, and it requires belief, you got to believe that all this is even true, right? But if you believe it's true, then you would act in honor to reclaim your title and understand that when this guy shows up to enforce legal, right? He is attacking this. He's the person and the person, they're fine. They're looking each other in the eye and they know that something is wrong and they don't want to do it, right? I've heard Toronto police are intentionally writing people's names wrong every now and again, wink, wink, because they understand that there's a problem, right? That we're all in it. They say we're all in this together in this COVID crap. Yeah, well, we're all in this together with this unlawful conversion, right? And if they're not even in the same worlds when they're talking to each other, and if there's a lack of awareness of the back and forth, that creates conflict, okay? Because this man has honor, the first thing he's going to do is say, okay, officer, if you acting as a service corporation are unaware of an unlawful conversion, right? I'm telling you, you are coming after this guy. This officer is also speaking to this version of this guy, right? But he is unaware of that because he thinks they are one in the same, because that's what it does, unlawful conversion, right? So he says, okay, I'm going to honorably tell you, sir, you have to show me. I'm going to show you what this notice of liability looks like here. I have it right here. It says, This is an example that was actually served to Burlington. Notice liability. I, Tim of the whatever family, do hereby give notice, liability. Produce written verifiable evidence with wet signature immediately that Marianne, in this case, Dermot, right? In this case, Dermot, a man, correction, this is actually Hong. Produce written verifiable evidence with wet signature immediately that A. Wong, a man acting as a police officer, or any man or woman under his control or controlling him, claim I, Dermot, in brackets, property, right, which we just talked about. A. Hong, or any man or woman under his control, can administer property without right. Obligation exists with Service Corporation, Burlington, relinquishing my rights. Otherwise, do not trespass. Okay, kind of, married man, married woman under control, administer property. Evidence. Yeah, sorry. So this notice says, please show me the evidence that you can administer. Administer means manage my property. This is his property, which is his flesh and blood self. The eyes, look at the eyes, his breath, make him say something, right? Produce the evidence with a wet signature, because if he never signed on to anything with a wet signature, right, then there's no contract and there's no jurisdiction because there's no consent and there's no full disclosure of what is even happening. And, right, produce a written verifiable evidence that obligation exists with the Service Corporation, Toronto. Show me my Toronto, right, where they sign it and I signed it, where all of these laws even apply to this flesh and blood man. They don't. Otherwise, do not trespass. Trespass fine is set as $25,000 per man or woman involved. And then they swear under oath or affirmation that he's telling the truth. So, if this officer, he is talking to this man. He is not talking to the Service Corporation, because the Service Corporation has no jurisdiction. He's looking this dude, this cop, A. Hong, in the eyes and saying, if you come and trespass me, I will fine you in a common law court $25,000 per woman or man involved, right? Because he has every right to do so in a common law world. Are we there yet? Do you think this is even possible? Is what I just described making sense to you? Better start talking about it to understand.
Everyone has the freedom of speech or assembly. However, the Ontario government has imposed a lockdown in Toronto due to the COVID-19 pandemic effective Monday, November 23rd at 12:01 a.m. for a minimum of 28 days. You may be charged with violating the Reopening Act as for attending, organizing, or hosting a large gathering of over 10 people.
He said something about a large gathering. So I think he was just saying, you know, if you organize a gathering over 5 or 10 people or whatever, we can fine you. And look at that protest. Is this guy organizing it?
I don't understand it. I comprehend what you're saying, but I don't agree to it. I'll stand under it now. Having said that, you guys said you let me speak. I have something in my truck, so you guys come with me. Maybe we can go underneath here where it's okay. Sure. Okay.
Now this guy prepared a document before he even showed up here, and he's got a nice report. And he, in that, on that notice trespass I just showed you, basically blanked out all the spots. So you just write in man or woman, and then you filled in the badge number. And he had it ready so that when the cops went to trespass him, or threaten him with a trespass, because that's coercion, that is a trespass. Just saying you can't do this and this, you know, that's a trespass because that's a threat. You can't do it or else.
You're the one who told me about
So you're the one who told me about possible charges. I think I heard that. Can I get your name?
Obvious use of fire, black magic. That's the word I'll use.
I wrote J Hong. I think it's A Hong. I don't know. The audio sucks.
Because what they're doing
11560.
badge number?
Disgusting. However, that is freedom in a nutshell. And that's okay. Because we have the freedom to resist. We have the freedom to peacefully assemble. And Dermot will be unharmed. he will be protected. We are here for Dermot and for this truck. Dermot.
So what this is the thing I just showed you. Seek back in the video if you want to look again, and you can see he basically just took out the certain things and put little fill in the blanks.
This is a notice liability, and I'm explaining to the police that they have no authority over me as a man. So you got it on there.
Great raincoats, because this is what we need you for. To hold a heart of forgiveness for those that don't know what they're doing. However, we will raise our voices, we will raise our glasses, and we will honor those that have come before us.
So I'm asking you to produce.
I am nobody.
I, man, Dermot of the Pomeroy family, do hereby give notice liability. These are my
We
terms
also
of the common law.
are joined by
I
our
require
farmers
written verifiable
on the
evidence
Periphery
with
Bank.
wet signature
On the
immediately
Periphery,
that
we
Jay
have
Hong,
farmers that
badge
are
number
protesting
11560,
for
a man.
A man acting as, remember, because he's a man, he's talking about that flesh and blood, the eyes, acting as, just look at his uniform, right?
Acting as a police officer for the Service Corporation of Toronto, or any man or woman claim my property.
How many of you
Jay Hong,
amongst
a man,
have been
or
denied
any
work
man or
because
woman
of
can
this
administer
lockdown?
property without right, obligation,
Would you like
contract,
to come
or
up so
relied
and share
upon
with me? You have a lovely
jurisdiction over
hat.
I.
This is a peaceful
Otherwise,
demonstration. Come
don't
over with your
trespass against
wonderful
me.
hats.
Trespass
I
is set
actually
at
don't know what I'm talking about.
$25,000
He's
per
right.
man or woman involved.
I do not
I will
know
swear
what
under
I'm
oath
talking
and
about.
affirmation
However,
that all
I
here be
have
true.
a
Dated
bit
today,
of will to come up and
December 12th,
stand and
Saturday,
say, guys,
2020.
I don't
Man,
know what's
Dermot of the Pomeroy
happening.
family. There's my
I've been
thumbprint.
afraid
So
for a
I'm going
long
to give this to
time.
you. If you don't want to
And
take
I
it,
know
that's
we are
entirely
on
up
the
to you.
same
We have it
boat.
recorded.
He's been served. Everybody saw it.
I see many posts online saying we're not on the
Honorable
same
A.
boat. Saying
Hong,
that I have a special
11560.
skin. I have a special demeanor.
Look at him
I
go.
have a special this and that.
Fold not like a
I do.
professional.
You're alive.
Nice
That's
clean
the greatest
folds.
privilege of all. We have
Putting
community.
it where it won't get
We have
crinkled.
family. We have Christmas. Same boat. Saying that I have a special skin. I have a special demeanor. I have a special this and that and privilege. I do. You're alive. That's the greatest privilege of all. We have community. We have family. We have Christmas. Hanukkah.
Can you bring them to me?
Ohio,
Maybe we can
whatever.
work something out where
Please, feel the inspiration amongst you. This is what we've been waiting for. You don't need people like me telling you what to do. And I'm not saying anything about that.
Yeah, well, the thing is
You
right now,
all
like I said,
hold the
because there's other
light.
protests going on
The
in
fact
Ottawa,
that we can
Randy
be
Hilliard's got a
bearers
people that
in
are
these
back going up.
oddly beautiful times. This isn't crazy times. These are not horrifying times. These are the times. And we make the times. I don't care what they want to tell you saying that.
So I think what he said was that there are going to be other people coming around and passing these notices to officers because this is spreading. This is spreading. Like, there are common law courts established right now in Burlington and on both coasts of Canada. So take it seriously.
God is dead? No. He's always been here. He's here.
So this officer just said keep it under 5. I don't know what he's talking about, but Dermot 100% probably could have written up a trespass like he did for A. Hong right here, because keep it under 5, that is a statement that has to be backed up with something. That's an order.
He's there. He's everywhere.
Is this guy trying to administer property without right? Giving this guy an order, right?
And a friend of mine told me a joke. Sometimes I talk to God and she listens.
I got you.
We are here for each other.
No, I understand.
Safety for everyone.
One thing that maybe we'll all do is I'll start saying, I am here for you. And I am here for my police officers too. They threw me in Windsor's finest potential.
He said we'll do our best to limit it to 5, so I mean that's not a fact or anything. You just do his best. That's totally subjective of what that even looks like. He could have served him, but he didn't. Whatever.
Jail, because I did not say my name. I said he was cute. I was a naughty boy.
All right, I encourage dialogue. Do you think this is even possible? Do you think this was just a joke, a big joke? Was that a meme? Did you just witness a meme? Is it possible? Is it possible?